Welcome back to DFC Books.
And welcome to the deep dive. Today we're tackling, well, a giant. John Milton's Paradise Lost.
It really is monumental, isn't it?
Absolutely. This isn't just a story. It's an epic poem that profoundly influenced how the West thinks about, well, everything. Rebellion, free will, God, Satan.
Okay, let's unpack this. And we're not just skimming the plot today. We're aiming for that deep knowledge.
Exactly. We want to dig into the major characters, the key settings, heaven, hell, Eden, and the really pivotal events, the moments that drive this whole cosmic drama forward.
Think of it as a high-speed tour, but, a really detailed one, getting into the source material's arguments.
And Milton lays it all out right at the start in those famous opening lines. The invocation, it basically gives you the roadmap for the entire poem.
Of man's first disobedience and the fruit of that forbidden tree. Everyone knows those lines, or thinks they do.
Right? Whose mortal taste brought death into the world, and all our woe with loss of Eden. It sets up the whole tragedy.
But it doesn't stop there, does it? There's that crucial last bit.
Crucial. Till one greater man restore us and regain the blissful seat. So, right from the outset, you have the fall, but also the promise of redemption. It frames the entire narrative.
It's incredibly dense, a whole theological argument in 5 lines. But, interestingly, the story doesn't start with Adam and Eve, or even in heaven.
No, Milton drops us right into the aftermath. In media res, as they say, we start in hell, with the rebels literally just waking up after being thrown out of heaven.
So let's paint that picture. What is this hell like?
It's horrifying. Milton goes to great lengths to describe it. It's a dungeon horrible. Think total darkness, total despair, a place where peace and rest can never dwell, hope never comes.
That line always gets me. Hope never comes.
Yeah.
Just absolute finality.
And the description of the fire is brilliant. A great furnace flamed, yet from those flames no light, but rather darkness visible.
Darkness visible. What does that even mean? It's such a paradox.
It suggests a darkness so profound it's like tangible. You can see the lack of light, and in that visible darkness you can make out the shapes of suffering, the doleful shades, the ever-burning sulfur unconsumed. It's not just absence of light, it's an active, oppressive gloom designed to amplify the misery.
So it's not just a place, it's an active punishment.
Precisely. Prepared by eternal justice, the fallen angels are chained on a lake of fire, far removed from God and light of heaven. Milton really emphasizes the distance, physical, spiritual, between what they lost and, well, what they've become.
And amidst this burning lake, we find the ringleaders, Satan and Beelzebub.
Yeah, initially just lying there, stunned, defeated. Satan's the archenemy, the lost archangel. Beelzebub is right beside him, next in power and crime.
Before we get into Satan's mindset, which is key, Milton gives him this incredible physical presence, right?
Oh, absolutely. The scale is just immense. He's extended long and large on the fire. Milton compares him to, the Titans from Greek mythology, Briareos, Typhon, huge, monstrous figures.
And then there's that famous comparison to Leviathan.
Right, the giant sea monster that sailors mistake for an island. It gives you this sense of colossal, almost geological scale. He's not just an angel, he's a force of nature, even in defeat.
The details are so vivid. His shield, for instance.
Yeah, his shield is massy, large, and round, made of ethereal temper. Heavenly metal, basically. And then Milton compares it to the moon seen through Galileo's telescope.
That's such a striking image, bringing in cutting-edge 17th century science. The telescope, the Tuscan artist Galileo, into this, biblical mythological setting. Why do that?
It's genius, really. It grounds Satan's immense scale in something relatable, something modern for Milton's readers. It makes him feel both ancient and contemporary. It anchors the epic in their world, their cosmology, and his spear, it's like the mast of a huge warship, a great admiral.
So massive, terrifying, a figure of war. But the text makes it clear his real strength isn't physical anymore, is it?
No, not primarily. He's diminished, changed in outward luster. The core of Satan, Milton tells us, is his mind. His motivation. It's driven by high disdain from sense of injured merit.
Injured merit. What's that really about? Is it just sour grapes?
It's more than that, I think. It's his perception that he was wronged, politically slighted when God elevated the sun. He sees his rebellion as a justified response to that perceived injustice. It's rooted in pride, absolutely, but he frames it as a matter of status and rights.
And that fuels his defining characteristic.
Exactly. That sense of injury fuels the unconquerable will and study of revenge, immortal hate, and courage never to submit or yield. That's the engine driving him. It's his refusal to accept defeat, his intellectual commitment to eternal opposition.
It's almost heroic in a twisted way, that sheer willpower.
Milton definitely gives him that heroic quality, that defiance. Satan immediately starts talking strategy. To wage by force or guile eternal war, irreconcilable to our grand foe. He's already pivoting from defeat to planning the next move.
But it's Beelzebub, his second-in-command, who adds a layer of maybe realism.
Yes. Beelzebub is the pragmatist. He's Satan's bold compeer, but he immediately asks the tough questions. Okay, we lost. Badly. Did the potent victor, God, leave us our spirit and strength just so we can suffer more effectively? Strongly to suffer and support our pains.
Or is there another purpose?
Right. Or did God leave them their power so they could, maybe unknowingly, still serve his ends, even as rebels? Beelzebub is the first to float the idea that their suffering might actually be part of a larger divine plan they don't understand. He's the strategist thinking several moves ahead.
#3. The Grand Council and Pandemonium.
Okay, so this initial exchange sets the stage for the next major event. The Grand Council and Pandemonium.
Pandemonium, literally all demons' place. A spectacular palace built incredibly fast by Mulciber, who, Milton notes, the Greeks later called Hephaestus. It's where they formalized their strategy.
And there's that fascinating detail about their size. Yes, the rank-and-file fallen angels, this vast host, have to shrink themselves down. They become less than smallest dwarfs or like fairy elves to fit inside the massive hall.
It's a visual representation of their fall, isn't it?
Quite so.
Still powerful intellectually, but diminished physically, spiritually.
Exactly. Only the leaders, the great seraphic lords, retain their true forms and sit in council. And presiding over them is Satan on a throne raised up by, as Milton puts it, merit, to that bad eminence.
Bad eminence, great phrase. And Satan lays out the options. Basically, more war or try something sneaky.
Open war or covert guile. But notice how he frames it. They just got utterly crushed trying open war. Now he presents guile as a strategic choice, not, the only option left because force failed.
He's managing perceptions, even in hell, spinning the narrative.
Constantly. He has to maintain that illusion of agency, of choice, to keep his followers motivated, to keep that unconquerable will alive. And the debate that follows is fascinating. It shows the different ways these powerful intellects grapple with defeat.
First up is Moloch, the hardcore warrior type.
Moloch is all fury. He basically says, let's go again, what do we have to lose? He advocates immediate open war. Not because he thinks they can win, necessarily, but because anything, even annihilation, is better than this endless suffering.
He suggests using the very fires of hell as weapons against heaven.
Yeah, turn their tortures back on God. He says he'd rather reduce to nothing this essential meaning, cease to exist, than endure eternal pain. It's pure nihilism born of rage and despair.
A stark contrast to the next speaker, Belial.
Oh, completely. Belial is the smooth talker, the politician. Milton warns us he seems graceful and humane, but all was false and hollow. Belial argues against Moloch's plan.
Why? On what grounds?
Pragmatism, of a sort. He says, look, heaven is unbeatable, we tried that. And as for annihilation, he poses the question, who would willingly give up this intellectual being, these thoughts that can wander through eternity? Basically, who wants to die, even if life is miserable?
So what's his alternative?
He advises ignoble ease and peaceful sloth. Just wait it out. Maybe God will ease up. Maybe they'll get used to the suffering. It's the path of least resistance. The argument for just accepting their diminished state and trying to make the best of it, very passive.
Then comes Mammon. His argument feels, well, different, more grounded.
Mammon represents materialism. He hates the idea of going back to heaven, even if they were forgiven. Why? Because it would mean splendid vassalage, singing forced hallelujahs. He can't stand the thought of subservience.
So his solution is?
Build our own kingdom right here in hell. He argues they should embrace their exile, be self-sufficient. Hell has resources, gems and gold. They can mine them, build their own magnificence, create their own power structure independent of heaven.
Milton gives us his backstory too, right?
Yeah.
Even in heaven, Mammon was focused on the gold pavement.
Exactly. He always looked downward. He represents that focus on earthly, material wealth over spiritual values. His argument is essentially, let's make hell great again on our own terms.
It's a powerful argument in its way. But the debate isn't settled until Beelzebub speaks.
Right. Beelzebub rises, described as a pillar of state, someone with Atlantean shoulders, fit to bear the weight of rule. He listens to all the arguments, war, endurance, self-reliance, and then he offers the game changer.
The turning point.
Absolutely. He reminds them of the prophecy, the rumor in heaven about a new creation, a new world, and a new race called man, made like to us, though less in power and excellence.
Ah, so that's the target.
Precisely. Beelzebub argues, forget attacking heaven directly. Forget just sitting here. Let's strike at God indirectly through his new creation. Attack man by force or subtlety, corrupt them, destroy them, ruin God's new project. That will be our revenge.
It's strategically brilliant, it gives them a concrete goal, something achievable, and it unites them against a common vulnerable enemy.
Exactly. It shifts their focus from internal debate or impossible ambitions to a targeted psychological operation. Sabotage.
And Milton uses this counsel for another purpose too, doesn't he? Explaining the origin of pagan gods.
Yes, this is theologically crucial for him. He explicitly states that these fallen angels, these leaders in the council, will later become the pagan deities worshipped by humans on Earth.
So all those gods from mythology, Zeus, Baal, Osiris, and Milton's view, they're just these demons in disguise.
That's exactly his framework. He lists them: Moloch, the horrid king demanding child sacrifice; Peror, or Baal-peor, associated with wanton rites; Dagon, the Philistine sea god, part man, part fish; Rimmon in Syria.
And Belial too.
Belial gets a special mention. He represents not just idolatry, but vice for itself. He thrives, Milton says, in courts, palaces, and even in churches where the clergy become corrupt when the priest turns atheist, and in decadent cities like Sodom. It integrates all of pagan history and contemporary vice into his Christian cosmology, portraying them as the long-term consequences of this initial demonic council. ####4, Satan's journey to the new world and God's foresight.
So the plan is set. Attack man, and Satan himself volunteers for the incredibly dangerous mission to find this new world.
It's presented as an act of leadership, maybe even twisted courage. He undertakes this perilous journey alone across the boundless deep of chaos, this unformed primordial abyss between hell and the created universe. It's a region of utter confusion and potential annihilation.
And the first major obstacle he hits is Hell Gate itself, guarded by two truly terrifying figures.
Sin and death. Their origin story is one of the most disturbing parts of the poem, really emphasizing the self-consuming nature of evil.
How so? Tell us about sin.
Sin, according to Milton's allegory, sprang fully formed from Satan's head during his initial rebellion in heaven. She was beautiful then, an image of Satan himself. But during the fall, her lower half became monstrous, serpentine, with hellhounds constantly gnawing at her womb.
And she's Satan's daughter.
Daughter and lover. It's incestuous, allegorically representing how sin originates from corrupted thought, Satan's pride, and then becomes monstrous in itself, and death.
Death is their child.
Yes. Their horrific offspring. Described as a shapeless, shadowy figure, black as night, wearing a crown, he perpetually rapes his mother, Sin, and the hounds that torment her are their offspring, constantly cycling back to gnaw on her. It's a grotesque, endless cycle of violation and torment.
A truly dysfunctional family guarding the gate. How does Satan get past them?
He doesn't recognize Sin at first, but she recognizes him. There's a confrontation, but ultimately he persuades them. He promises them dominion over the new world he's going to find. He tells Death there will be endless prey for him there.
So Sin, his daughter lover, lets him out.
Yes. She holds the fatal key to Hell's gates given to her by God, ironically, and she unlocks them, allowing Satan to pass out into chaos towards Earth.
Okay, so while Satan is struggling through chaos, the perspective shifts dramatically. We go up to heaven.
Yes, and this is a crucial philosophical moment. God the Father and the Son are watching Satan's journey, and God, who sees everything past, present, future, makes a pivotal declaration.
He knows Satan will succeed. He knows man will fall.
He knows, he foresees it, but he immediately makes it clear why man will fall. It won't be because of fate or because God planned it that way. Man will fall through his own fault.
This is central to Milton's argument, isn't it? The justification of God's ways.
Absolutely central. God says, I made him just and right, sufficient to have stood, though free to fall. Man has free will. He has enough strength, enough reason to resist temptation. If he falls, the blame lies squarely with him.
But that raises the age-old question. If God knows it will happen, how is man truly free? Isn't foreknowledge basically predestination?
Milton tackles that head-on through God's speech. The argument is that foreknowledge does not equal causation. God, knowing what choice man will make, doesn't force man to make that choice. Freedom lies in the ability to choose otherwise. Man wasn't created as a puppet. God gave him liberty and the responsibility that comes with it.
Okay, so God foresees the fall, insists it's man's fault, but doesn't just leave it at that.
No. This is where the plan for redemption unfolds. Justice demands a penalty for disobedience, death. But God's nature also includes mercy, and the Son steps forward.
The Son of God, described as the express image of the Father, full of compassion.
Exactly. He sees a predicament, man doomed by his own choice, justice demanding satisfaction, and he offers himself. He volunteers to become human, to pay the penalty, death for death.
A voluntary ransom.
Yes. This is the core of the Christian redemption story presented here. The Son offers to take the deadly forfeiture upon himself. It's an act of ultimate love and self-sacrifice, satisfying divine justice while simultaneously providing a path back for humanity through grace and faith. The whole of heaven bows down in adoration at this offer.
So the safety net is in place before the fall even happens.
Correct. With the plan for redemption established, God then takes a proactive step. He dispatches the archangel Raphael down to Eden.
Raphael, the sociable spirit, what's his mission?
To warn Adam explicitly. God wants to ensure man cannot claim ignorance. Raphael is to tell Adam about the enemy, Satan, about the danger of disobedience, about the war in heaven, everything Adam needs to know to make an informed choice. He must be warned that the attack will come through deceit and lies.
So man will be fully equipped with knowledge. No excuses.
Precisely. The warning is part of ensuring man's freedom is meaningful. He must be unadmonished, unforewarned, only in the sense that the choice remains his. The responsibility is entirely on Adam and Eve. #, V, paradise and the human pair.
All right, let's shift focus to paradise itself. Eden. What's it like before the fall?
It's depicted as absolute perfection, a heaven on earth. Lush, beautiful, harmonious. Rivers run with nectar, breezes are fragrant, animals are peaceful, and significantly the rose grows without thorn. It's nature in its ideal, uncorrupted state. Even Satan is momentarily awestruck by its beauty when he first arrives, though it quickly fuels his envy.
And Adam and Eve, how are they presented?
As the pinnacle of this creation, they live in naked majesty, innocent and unashamed, reflecting the image of their creator. They embody truth, wisdom, sanctitude. But Milton also establishes a clear hierarchy between them.
Can you unpack that hierarchy? It seems important for what happens later.
It is. Adam is described as formed for contemplation and valor. He has a large front and sublime eye that declare absolute rule. He represents reason and authority.
And Eve?
Eve is formed for softness and sweet grace. Milton explicitly states she is subservient to Adam just as Adam is subject to God. The famous line is, "He for God only, she for God in him."
That's a very specific order. How is her subservience portrayed?
It's described in terms of beauty and yielding. Her golden tresses hang in wanton ringlets, signifying a willing subjection offered with coy submission, modest pride. It's presented as a harmonious relationship within this divine order. Their happiness and indeed their safety depends on maintaining this structure and obeying their one rule. Don't eat from that one tree, the tree of knowledge of good and evil. It's the sole pledge of his obedience left. Everything else is freely given.
So Raphael arrives in this perfect setting. Adam greets him warmly. And there's that interesting detail about Raphael eating their food.
Yes, Adam offers him fruits from the garden, and Raphael, the sociable spirit, accepts and eats. This isn't just a minor detail.
Why is it significant?
Raphael explains it to Adam. He says that spiritual beings can assimilate physical substance, refining it into spirit. It demonstrates that the boundary between the physical and spiritual isn't absolute. It suggests that humans, through obedience and temperance, have the potential to become more spiritual, more angelic, to ascend. It reinforces Eden as a place where heaven and earth meet.
And this leads into Raphael's main purpose, the warning.
Right. This moment of counsel is crucial. Raphael emphasizes Adam's state. God made thee perfect, not immutable. You're good, but not unchangeably so. Your continued happiness depends on your choices. To persevere, he left it in thy power. Free will, again.
He's really driving that point home.
Relentlessly. And to show the dire consequences of disobedience, Raphael then recounts the story of the war in heaven. He explains how it all started.
The rebellion began when God appointed the Son as head of the angels.
Exactly. Demanding all angels bow to the Son. Satan, then called Lucifer, saw this as an imposition, servitude, an infringement on his own status. He refused and persuaded a third of the angels to join him in rebellion in the northern regions of heaven.
But not everyone followed Satan. There's the figure of Abdiel.
Abdiel's hugely important. He's the lone voice of dissent among the rebels. When Satan is rallying his forces, Abdiel stands up, denounces Satan's blasphemy and pride, and remains faithful to God. He walks away from the rebel host, alone.
a symbol of loyalty and individual conscience.
Absolutely. And later, in the actual battle, Abdiel is the first to confront Satan physically, striking him and forcing him back. Abdiel demonstrates that loyalty and righteous choice are possible, even when surrounded by rebellion and charismatic evil. He's the counterpoint to Satan's claims about freedom.
And the war itself. Raphael describes it vividly, even mentions artillery.
He does. It's another fascinating detail. The rebellious angels, having mined materials in heaven, invent gunpowder and cannons, devilish enginery. Milton portrays this as a cowardly, dishonorable form of warfare, undermining true angelic combat.
How do the loyal angels respond?
They're initially thrown into disarray, but then they retaliate by basically tearing up heaven's landscape, hurling mountains and hills at the rebels. It becomes this chaotic, destructive clash.
Until the sun intervenes.
Yes. On the third day, God sends the sun into battle in his celestial chariot, blazing with divine power. The rebels are instantly overwhelmed, utterly routed, and driven headlong out of heaven, falling for 9 days into the newly prepared hell. The whole story serves as a stark warning to Adam. This is the fate of rebels. This is the power you defy if you disobey. ###X. The temptation and transgression, the central event.
So Adam has been thoroughly warned. He knows the enemy, the stakes, the history.
Yeah.
Yet the fall happens. How does it begin?
It begins with a seemingly small decision, the separation. Satan, having scouted paradise and now possessing the serpent chosen as the subtlest beast of all the field, needs an opportunity, and Eve provides it.
Wow.
She suggests to Adam that they should work separately in the garden. She argues the workload is too much for them together, they'd be more efficient apart.
And Adam's reaction?
He strongly advises against it. He voices his fear, the very fear Raphael warned about. The enemy is here, he says, and will likely target them when they're asunder, hopeless to circumvent us joined. He knows they're stronger together. Separation makes them vulnerable, especially Eve.
But Eve pushes back.
She does. She argues for her own strength, her own firmness, perhaps feeling a bit slighted or maybe taking the lesson of free will too far. She asks how they can truly be happy or free if they have to live in constant fear, always sticking together. If her faith is so weak, she implies, what good is it?
It's a complex moment. Pride, a desire for independence, maybe a misunderstanding of true freedom.
All of that, potentially. And Adam, well, he yields. He doesn't want to seem mistrustful, doesn't want to command her against her will. He rationalizes it, saying he lets her go, lest, willfully transgressing, he pretend surprisal, unadmonished, unforewarned. Essentially, he doesn't want her to be able to claim later she wasn't truly free.
So he allows the very situation he feared.
Exactly. He prioritizes her feeling of autonomy over the commanded safety, and perhaps over his own authority, as defined earlier. That separation is the crucial first step.
And Satan seizes the opportunity. He finds Eve alone.
Yes, tending her flowers. Milton includes a fascinating line here, seeing Eve's beauty and innocence. Satan is momentarily stupidly good. He's almost disarmed by her perfection, her heavenly form angelic, but more soft and feminine.
Just for a moment, then.
Just a moment. The hot hell within him, his burning envy and hate, quickly reasserts itself. He approaches her in the form of the serpent.
And the temptation begins. How does he do it?
It's a masterclass in rhetoric and psychological manipulation. First, the serpent speaks. This immediately grabs Eve's attention. It's a miracle. The serpent then claims it gained the power of speech and reason by eating the fruit of the forbidden tree.
So he presents the fruit not as deadly, but as enlightening.
Precisely. He directly contradicts God's warning. He tells Eve God is forbidding the fruit out of envy to keep them down, to prevent them from becoming gods themselves. "Ye shall not die," he insists. "Instead, you'll transcend your human limitations, put off human to put on God."
He's attacking God's credibility, God's benevolence, and playing on her desire for knowledge and status.
Exactly. Fear of death, desire for godhood, doubt about God's motives. He hits all the key pressure points. And Eve, flattered by the serpent's adoration, intrigued by its arguments, starts to rationalize.
And then the act itself.
She reaches out. Her rash hand an evil hour, forth reaching to the fruit, she plucked, she eat.
And the universe reacts.
Instantly. Earth felt the wound, and nature from her seat, sighing through all her works, gave signs of woe that all was lost. The cosmic order is broken by that single act of disobedience.
Does Eve immediately go to Adam? There's a moment of hesitation, right?
Yes, a brief, chilling, internal debate. She thinks, maybe I should keep this power, this knowledge to myself, be sometime superior to Adam. It shows how quickly the poison works. But then she thinks about mortality. If she dies, God might create another Eve for Adam. Her love for him, combined with perhaps jealousy and fear of being alone in her new state, makes her decide to share it. She resolves to bring Adam into it. Share with me in bliss or woe.
So she goes to Adam. What happens then? Is Adam deceived like Eve was?
No, and Milton is very clear about this. Adam sees the forbidden fruit in her hand, hears her story, and understands immediately what has happened and what the consequences are. He's horrified. He drops the garland of flowers he was making for her, but he decides to eat anyway.
Why? If it wasn't deceived?
Milton says he was fondly overcome with female charm. He cannot bear the thought of living without Eve. He consciously chooses to share her fate, to fall with her, rather than remain innocent and lose her. It's a decision based on love, yes, but a flawed earthly love that overrides his obedience to God. He chooses Eve over God.
And the earth groans again.
A second groan for Adam's deliberate transgression. Then comes a brief, false euphoria. They feel powerful like gods full of new wine. This quickly turns into lust, the first consequence mentioned, followed immediately by shame. They suddenly realize they are naked and their innocence is gone.
Replaced by guilty shame.
Right. And this leads directly to the next stage of the fall. The breakdown of their relationship. They start arguing, blaming each other.
Mutual recriminations.
Exactly. Adam blames Eve for listening to the serpent, for wandering off alone. He bitterly wishes for a world of men as angels without feminine.
Ouch. And Eve, she doesn't just take it, does she?
Not at all. She throws the blame right back at him. She accuses him of being too facile, too easygoing, too weak for letting her go in the first place. If he was really in charge, she implies, he should have forbidden her absolutely.
Too facile, then, thou didst not much gainsay. That line cuts deep. She attacks his failure to exercise the very authority Milton established earlier.
Precisely. The perfect harmony is shattered, replaced by blame, resentment, and defensiveness. They try to cover their physical nakedness with fig leaves, but they can't hide their inner shame and alienation from each other and from God. #7. Judgment, prophecy, and expulsion.
So innocence is lost, the blame game has begun. What happens next? Judgment.
Yes. They hear the voice of God specifically, the sun walking in the garden in the cool of the day, and their first reaction is fear and shame. They hide among the trees.
The son finds them, of course. How does the judgment proceed?
He confronts them. Adam, one question, blames Eve. The woman whom thou gavest to be with me, she gave me of the tree. Eve, in turn, blames the serpent. The serpent beguiled me, and I did eat.
Passing the buck.
Classic human behavior, even at the very beginning. The son, acting as judge, then delivers the sentences, the curses.
What are they?
First, the serpent is cursed above all animals, condemned to crawl on its belly and eat dust. Then comes a crucial part. God puts enmity between the serpent and the woman, and between Satan's offspring and her offspring, her seed.
Her seed shall bruise his head, thou bruise his heel.
Exactly. The proto-evangelium, the first glimmer of the gospel, the promise that a descendant of Eve will ultimately crush Satan, though Satan will inflict harm, bruise his heel. It's a promise of future victory embedded within the curse.
Okay, that's the serpent's curse. What about Eve and Adam?
Eve's curse involves sorrow in conception and childbirth, and her desire shall be to her husband, and he shall rule over her, reinforcing the hierarchy, but now under the strain of the fall. Adam's curse is directed at the ground itself. Cursed is the ground for thy sake. Work will now be toil. In the sweat of thy face shalt thou eat bread, until he returns to the dust from which he was made. Mortality and hard labor become the human condition.
Judgment delivered. But isn't there a note of mercy even here?
There is. The sun, pitying their new state of nakedness and shame, clothes them, not with leaves, but with skins of beasts. Milton interprets this symbolically, suggesting it covers not just their bodies, but also their inward nakedness, foreshadowing Christ's robe of righteousness. Then the Son ascends to heaven to act as their intercessor.
While all this is happening on earth, what about sin and death back at Hellgate?
They feel Satan's success from afar, like a disturbance in the force. Sensing that Earth is now vulnerable, they undertake this massive project. They build a bridge, a huge causeway spanning the abyss of chaos, directly linking hell to Earth.
A permanent highway for evil.
Essentially, yes. A pontifice, Milton calls it, playing on the word for bridge builder and perhaps hinting at later corruptions. It secures easy access for demonic influence into the human world. Sin and death travel across it, eager to claim their new dominion.
And Satan, he heads back to hell.
Yes, he returns to Pandemonium expecting a hero's welcome. He boasts to the assembled demons how he, alone and through cunning, with an apple, brought down man.
But his triumph is short-lived.
Very short-lived. As he finishes speaking, instead of applause, he hears hissing. He and all his followers are suddenly involuntarily transformed into snakes.
The ultimate humiliation.
Absolutely brutal irony. They used a serpent to tempt man, and now they become serpents themselves. And adding insult to injury, illusory fruit trees appear, but when the serpent demons try to eat the fruit, it turns to bitter ashes in their mouths, a recurring punishment, reminding them of their empty victory.
Back on Earth, the final act is the expulsion. But God sends another angel first.
Yes, the archangel Michael is sent, not Raphael this time. Michael is more of a warrior angel, stern but just. His task is twofold. Expel Adam and Eve from paradise, but first prepare Adam by showing him visions of the future, to temper the judgment with knowledge and hope.
What does Adam see? What are these key thematic events?
First, he sees the immediate tragic result of his sin played out, the first murder. Cain, driven by envy because God accepted Abel's sacrifice but not his own, kills his brother. Adam is devastated, realizing that the knowledge of good and evil he gained truly means understanding lost good and experiencing present evil, including death itself.
A harsh lesson. What else?
Michael shows him a Lazar house, a grim vision of all the diseases and ailments that will plague humanity. Michael explicitly links this suffering to intemperance in meats and drinks, arguing that excess and unhealthy living corrupt the body, which was made in God's image.
So there's a strong message about temperance, moderation.
Definitely. Michael instructs Adam that living temperately is the path to a long life and an easier death. Not a cure for mortality, but a way to manage the consequences of the fall. It connects physical health directly to spiritual discipline.
The visions continue through history.
Yes. Adam sees the world becoming increasingly corrupt. The righteous descendants of Seth intermarry with the wicked line of Cain, attracted by their beauty. This leads to violence, tyranny, and the rise of giants of mighty bone. The corruption becomes so widespread that God decides to cleanse the earth with the flood, saving only Noah, the one just man, and his family in the ark.
From Noah, the lineage continues.
Michael traces it down through Abraham, chosen by God to father a great nation, and then to Moses, receiving the law on Mount Sinai. Michael presents the law as necessary but insufficient. It reveals sin but cannot by itself save humanity. It sets the stage for something more.
Which is?
The fulfillment of the promise made back in the garden. Michael plainly reveals to Adam that the seed of woman who will crush the serpent is the Son of God himself. He explains that the victory won't be through another war, but through the Son becoming human, living a life of perfect obedience and suffering death to pay for man's disobedience. Redemption will come through faith in this sacrifice.
So Adam gets the full picture. Suffering, history, law, and finally grace.
The entire sweep of biblical history, culminating in the promise of Christ. Michael assures Adam that, in the end, the Son will return to judge everyone, dissolve Satan's corrupted world, and create new heavens, new earth, ages of endless date. Adam, though losing paradise, gains knowledge of the path to an even greater future restoration. #8. Conclusion and final thoughts.
Armed with this knowledge, this bittersweet hope, the time comes for the actual expulsion.
Yes. Michael gently leads Adam and Eve towards the eastern gate of paradise. Eve weeps, understandably, mourning the loss of her flowers, the beauty of Eden, the nuptial bower where their love began.
A very human moment of grief.
Very. As they look back, they see the gate guarded by cherubim and a terrifying flaming sword turning every way, barring re-entry forever. They shed some natural tears, acknowledging the immense loss. But then, Michael tells them they wipe them soon. They have a future, albeit a difficult one.
And Michael gives them their final instruction or summary.
He essentially tells them that the whole world is now open to them, where to choose their place of rest. And importantly, they won't be entirely alone. Providence their guide. They leave Eden hand in hand, ready to face the world.
So what does this all mean when you step back from the sheer scale of it all?
I think the key takeaway from diving deep into the source is seeing how Paradise Lost is so much more than just a retelling of Genesis. It's this vast philosophical and theological argument Milton is building. He's trying to justify the ways of God to men, as he says.
And his justification hinges entirely on free will.
Absolutely. From Satan's initial choice to rebel, driven by injured merit, to Eve's susceptibility to flattery and ambition, to Adam's conscious choice to fall with Eve, every disaster stems from a deliberate choice against God's command. God made them sufficient to have stood, but free to fall. The suffering that follows the political maneuvering in hell, the diseases, the wars Adam witnesses, it all flows from that initial misuse of freedom.
Yet freedom also allows for Abdiel's loyalty, and ultimately for the son's voluntary sacrifice and man's potential redemption through faith.
Exactly. Freedom cuts both ways. Satan's unconquerable will leads only to eternal frustration and humiliation. Adam and Eve's choices lead to loss and suffering, but also to knowledge, painful knowledge, and the possibility of achieving a different kind of wisdom and finding grace through repentance and faith.
Which brings us to that final image. Adam and Eve leaving Eden, Providence their guide. It leaves you thinking, doesn't it?
It really does. That's the provocative thought, I think. Adam now knows about labor, pain, disease, betrayal, war, the whole catalog of human misery revealed by Michael. He also knows about the promise of redemption. So, as they walk out into the world, guided by Providence, how does that knowledge shape their future choices? How much is predetermined by the consequences of the fall, and how much is still truly free will, operating under this new condition of hardship, but also guided by divine foresight and the potential for grace? It's the fundamental question of the human condition set right there at the exit of Eden.